Yashodanandana Vajajanarajana Yamuna Vira Vanachari Yamuna Vira Vanachari Jaina Yadhara Kunjabhi Sami Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Jai Go Brahmanandi Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So today we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9 and text number 25. Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukha Mriga Trishni Rupa. Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukha Mriga Trishni Rupa. Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukha Mriga Trishni Rupa. Kvedam Kalevaram Ashesha Rujam Viroha. 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 Nirvidyatena tujano yat apiti vidvan. Nirvidyatena tajuna vidvan. Nirvidyatena tajano yat apiti vidvan. Nirvidyatena tujano yat apiti vidvan. Kamanalam madulavai shamayam durape. Kamanalam madulavai shamayam durape. Kamanalam madulavai shamayam durape. Yam durape. Kutra shisha shruti sukham rigatrishni rupa. Kutra shisha shruti sukham rigatrishni rupa. Kvedam kalevaram ashesharujam viroha. Kalevaram ashesharujam viroha. Nirvidyatena tujanoyat apati vidvan. Nirvidyatena tujanoyat apati vidvan. Kama matlavai shamayam durape.
Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukham Vigatrishni Rupa.
Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukham Rikatrishni Rupa.
Vedam Kaleva Ramashesa Rujam Viroha.
Vedam Kaleva Ramashesha Rujam Viroha.
Nirvidyatena Jano Yarapiti Vidvan.
Nirvidyateta Tulajano Apiti Vidvan.
Kamanalam Madhulavai Shamayan Durapai.
Manalam Madhuvai Shamayam Durapai. Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukhamrika Trishnirupa Vedam Kalevaram Shasharujam Viroha Nirvidyate Natajanoyat Apiti Vidvan Kamanala Advaveshamayam Durabha. Please, devotees online, would you like to chant?
Putra Shisha Shruti Sukha Mrika Trishni Rupa Kvedam Gale
Shruti Sukhamrika Trishnirupa
Vedam Gale Varamashesha Rupam Viroha
Vedam Kalevaram Shasharujam Viroha
Nirvidyatena Tujano Yat Apiti Vidvan
Nirvidyate Apiti Vidvan
Kamanadam Madhu Lavai Shamayan Duravai.
Angalam Madhuraveshamayam Durabha. Anyone else? Can you have one more, please? Okay. Word for word. Kutra, where? Ashisha, benedictions. Shruti Sukhava, simply pleasing to hear. Vigatrishnirupa, exactly like a mirage in the desert. Kva, where? Idam, this. Kalevaram, body. Ashesha, unlimited. Rojam, of diseases. Viroha, the place for generating. Nirvidyata, become satiated. Na, not. To, but. Jana, people in general. Yat api, although. Iti, thus. Vidvan, so-called learned philosophers. Scientists and politicians. Kama analam, the blazing fire of lusty desires. Madhulavai, with drops of honey. Happiness. Shamayan, controlling. Durapai, very difficult to obtain. Translation. In this material world, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in a desert. Where is water in the desert? Or in other words, where is happiness in this material world? As for this body, what is its value? It is merely a source of various diseases. The so-called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after the so-called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusions. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There is a song in the Bengali language which states, I constructed this home for happiness, but unfortunately there was a fire and everything has now been burned to ashes. I constructed this home for happiness, but unfortunately there was a fire and everything has now burned to ashes. I don't know how the song goes. This illustrates the nature of material happiness. Everyone knows it, but nonetheless, one plans to hear or think something very pleasing. Unfortunately, all of one's plans are annihilated in due course of time. There were many politicians who planned empires, supremacy, and control of the world, but in due time, All their plans and empires, and even the politicians themselves, were vanquished. Everyone should take lessons from Prahlad Maharaj about how we are engaged in so-called temporary happiness through bodily exercises for sense enjoyment. All of us repeatedly make plans, which are all repeatedly frustrated. Therefore, one should stop such plan making. As one cannot stop a blazing fire by constantly pouring ghee upon it, one cannot satisfy oneself by increasing plans for sense enjoyment. The blazing fire is Bhava Mahadavagni, the forest fire of material existence. This forest fire occurs automatically, without endeavor. We want to be happy in the material world, but this will never be possible. We shall simply increase the blazing fire of desires. Our desires cannot be satisfied by illusory thoughts and plans. Rather, we have to follow the instruction of Krishna. Sarva dharmam parityajamam ekam sharanam vraja. Then we shall be happy. Otherwise, in the name of happiness, we shall continue to suffer miserable conditions. Kudra shisha shruti sukham rigatrishni rupa kvedam kalevaramashasha rujam viroha nirvidyate natu janoyat apiti vidvam kamanalam madhulavai shamayam jurape. The verse one more time. In this material world, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in a desert. Where is water in the desert? Or, in other words, where is happiness in this material world? As for this body, what is its value? It's merely a source of various diseases. The so-called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after so-called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusions. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Thank you so much all for coming and all the devotees joining online. Let's see what news Krishna has for us today, what he wants us to deliberate upon today. I had to remind myself when I was just reading this verse for the second time, this is a 5-year-old speaking. It's pretty deep philosophy. It's just removing all illusions that we may have when it comes to our material existence and material enjoyments. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this class. It was kind of short notice. So I hope that all of you will contribute with your wisdom and experiences and knowledge to the Srimad Bhagavatam today. But I will try to say a few words. So I was inspired, I was able to prepare a little bit, and I was inspired by how one of the devotees that I was listening to giving a lecture on this topic, how he took some of the some of the words from the purport and like deliberate upon them. So here in this verse, in this first shloka, there's the word mrigatrishni, which Srila Prabhupada mrigatrishni rupa, exactly like a mirage in the desert. So I don't know if you ever had this experience of actually being in a very hot climate and then you see the water in front of you, right? Have you all this experience, right? And it's so real. It's unbelievably real. And then you get closer and it just disappears in the spot where you've seen it originally. But then it appears further down the road. So then you are like trying to get there and then the water's gone again. We had this experience many times with my husband when we were still living in Las Vegas. We would commute quite a lot between Las Vegas and LA. And obviously, Las Vegas, it's extremely hot, it's a desert. And driving on this highway, it was basically nothing, no vegetation. You could see this all the time, and the water was so real. But in this particular verse, the word Mrigatrishi, the Mriga um, refers to deer. So yes, correct. I have some Indian devotees. Yes, they are correcting me. So the example is given here that the deer is very thirsty, and deer would also see the water and it would run to it, and then the water would disappear. Like the water kind of starts to move farther away, so the deer keep running, 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 and then eventually it collapses due to exhaustion, due to dehydration. So this is like such a wonderful marketing of Maya. Krishna is absolutely amazing how he created everything, and Maya is his powerful energy. So Maya always create this, like sometimes we also say like a carrot on a stick in the front of which animal? Rabbit. Could be rabbit, yeah. And it's there, and we just going, and we won't get this carrot. And then when we get it, we see that the satisfaction, the full satisfaction is not there. And Maya always puts something in front of us. And the Kali Yuga is such a powerful age where Maya dominates really strong. And we have all the media, um, what is this called? Promotion, this everything is just putting this carrot in front of our nose, saying this is this perfect whatever piece of furniture or this gadget, this vacation that you need for your full satisfaction. And once you get it, your life will be perfect. But then we get it and we realize, well, it's not as good as I thought it would be. Right? We always have higher expectation. And it's over and over and over. So Maya works in such a way that it mimics the happiness and it keeps us running, running, running till we collapse into our grave. And this lack of satisfaction is so predominant that, like my Guru Maharaj mentioned, that one of the top regrets that people have when they die is actually the lack of, pursuing their dreams and fulfilling them. They feel this satisfaction that their life wasn't as happy. And we have all this experience, whatever milestone it may be. The graduation, actually, we have one of our community members, extremely intelligent and talented and smart young devotee will be graduating tomorrow. And it seems like, wow, this is the peak, but actually the excitement lasts for some time, but then it goes away, and then we're pursuing another thing. Is there some marriage or some, anything like that? So every time Maya moves this goal farther away from us, another 10 miles, together. So we are not able to drink this nectar that we are always anxious, right? And another interesting point in this verse is actually before I do this, if I move further, so we will ask ourselves why we are doing this. Like, what is this for that is pushing us to do it? And that was one of the questions that was asked by Shashika Prabhu, and he said, his answer was very plain. He said, "You're doing this because you are stupid." I was laughing when I heard this, but I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We are stupid. We are running, running, but expecting a different result. But we keep running, running, and repeating the same thing. But the good thing is that Krishna is so merciful that even though we are making those same mistakes over and over and again, he is not stopping to pour his love upon us and reaching out to us with help. So eventually we're gonna get it. So there's hope for us. Also in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj, he mentioned, as for this body, what is its value? It's merely a source of various diseases. We again, as a living entities, we have so much hope with the body, right? The body seems for us the tool that we will be able to achieve everything what we want, every source of our ultimate sense gratification and satisfaction. But is it really so? So in the Sanskrit it says here, Ashesha Ashacharujam viraha, which just means the body is the place where unlimited diseases grow. So there is birth, old age, diseases, and death. So diseases is part of the package. If we got this material body, if we're here, this is part of the package. So it's not an optional thing. It comes with this body. So we may strive for health, and even if we are healthy, it's basically the absence of the symptom of disease, but disease is going to come sooner or later. There's no way we can avoid this. And if we pay a lot of attention to the body, it's like paying attention to the sinking ship. Like if you would be on a ship that is sinking, you would not be thinking like, what color I'm gonna paint my walls, or what curtains I'm gonna put, right? You will be pretty much very desperate to save yourself. Yet, when we are in this material existence, we put so much attention to the body. Like Srila Prabhupada also give this example of polishing the cage where the bird is inside and is screaming, feed me, feed me, feed me. But we are just, oh, this cage, look, it's so shiny. I'm just so proud of myself, what I have achieved. So this is very important that we keep reminding ourselves, because as devotees, we are not exempted. Honest, when we are still here in the material world, the Maya can have her grip on us, right? So we need to be very careful and remind ourselves about always make sure that we feed the bird first and then take care of the body. Of course, the body is a tool that we use in Krishna's service. And that's what shifts everything, because obviously the materialistic people, they also take care of the body to extreme. But they also they do it without higher purpose. They don't do it for the sake of using the body to please the Supreme Personality of God, to use it in the service. But as a devotees, it's our duty to take care of our body, what is needed. But at the same time, we are doing this for the sake of Krishna's service. So that makes a huge difference, the consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada would repeat this over and over and over. We are not this body, we are spirit soul. And he would get many, many examples. Like I remember when I was, one of the first books that I have received was Science of Self-Realization. And over there's a story of this man that wanted to enjoy the lady, and she came and she told him like, please come back in a week or so. So I think this chapter is called Liquid Beauty, because she was extremely beautiful, but then in order to show the truth of what the body actually is, she underwent all the different paths and whatever, and she was collecting whatever was coming out of the body from different holes in the buckets. And when he came again, she showed me, okay, this is what you want to enjoy. And of course, that was quite disgusting. But interesting thing about this too, and that's reminded me what my husband shared with me, that the body has all these disgusting substances that comes from us. It comes from the bottom holes, front holes, nose, whatever, right? And when we see this, like this man, when he came to enjoy this lady, we saw this, he was disgusted, and he said, like, forget about this, I'm not interested anymore. My husband one time mentioned to me that there was a devotee in Poland, like in the early days, that he would say, although those things are so disgusted, or even, when someone passes gas, it's gross, but I just want to give this like example. Then when we smell it, it's like, ooh. But this devotee said, but we kind of have liking to our own disgusting things. Like they are not as disgusting for us because it's part of our body. So they're like, oh wow. Anyhow, I just to make it really gross. Yes. So that's important that we don't lose the course of the right track. That yes, it's important to maintain our body, but we also remember why we are doing this, why we are maintaining it, why we want to stay healthy. We want to stay healthy for Krishna, because otherwise, staying healthy for the sake of staying healthy or for maintaining this body forever, it's the effort that is basically going in vain. In this verse also is mentioned that scientists, philosopher, politicians, they know about this because they see it. They see that people are dying in the hospitals, their body is aging, but still they are pursuing it and they are still hoping to find a permanent solution. That's stupid, right? But still they're doing this. That's the power of Krishna's energy, power of Maya. Maya is extremely potent that even we may have knowledge, but we may still be bewildered. Maya is so, so strong. So let's keep this in mind that the ship is going down. And we need to make sure that we take care of our body for the sake of Krishna, but primarily take care of the soul of our Krishna consciousness. I would like to share a little story in this regard. So once there was a very, very powerful king, and he was extremely rich. He had horses and golden palaces and an army of thousands of elephants. He was extremely popular. And then it happened that he was just walking around a town and a village. And then he saw this poor man that was sitting on the side of the road. He had like a cart or like a rag and a very tiny rusted needle. And he was trying to like sew this carpet or fix this carpet, right? So the king looked at him and really laughed, really humiliating him. He says like, like, oh, sage, why are you doing this? Is such a useless labor. Like, look at me, what I have achieved, right? And then basically said, I rule the world, I have everything. That does remind us about Hiranyakashipu, right? So he was like exactly like this. Look at me, I have everything, I rule, I'm in control, I'm the supreme. But the sage was undisturbed, and he looked calmly at the king, and the sage says, yes, king, you're indeed very rich, but tell me, are you going to take with you all those gold palaces, elephants, and army when you die? And the king says he was at least smart enough. He said, of course not. And the sage responded, yes, that's true. And I am also not going to take my needle, but I know this and I am detached. But you live in such a way as you're going to take everything with you. So that's a big difference, right? Again, the difference is in consciousness, because when you look externally, devotees may look exactly like people who are pursuing materialistic goals, but the consciousness of devotees is different. Devotees are working on the soul and not what's going to stay behind us. And the last point I would like to make before I would open to hear your wisdom and your knowledge is the example of fire and the honey. So we usually hear this example all the time when you have a fire and you put a ghee on it. We cannot expect the fire will go down, right? When we have a fire yagya for initiation of a marriage, and the priest is like adding, when the fire is going down, what he's doing, he's putting ghee, right, to awaken the fire again. But this is the first time I actually hear about honey. That honey is sugar. And when you add it to the fire, it will work the same way. It will just make the fire burn faster and more intensely, even if we just put a few tiny drops. So that refers to our sense gratification, that the wrong philosophy is that, okay, if I fulfill those desires, then my desires will ultimately go down. But it doesn't work like this. That's not how Krishna created this. When you add, even if it's just a little, just tiny. I remember my mom when I was in the early days when I was pursuing my vegetarian diet. It was before I even met devotees. And it was quite challenging because in Poland at the time, vegetarianism was like unknown word. Like people thought like, okay, so what does it mean? Leaves, grass, like they didn't even connected it that, to cabbage and potatoes, which were very common in Poland. They just was thinking more like leaves and grass. So yeah, there was no cookbooks, no Google Guru, nothing like that. So has been a little. I was struggling, I have to say, especially that I didn't know how to cook so much. So I remember when we had like a family gathering, and they put out all the meat preparations, and I was there like with my bread and butter and mashed potatoes. Then my mom would like try to put those drops of honey, and she would say, "Look, just a little bit. It's nothing is gonna, you know, nothing's gonna happen. Just a little bit." And then when I became a devotee, she would say, she's not saying this anymore. She's very respectful right now. I have to give her credit, very extremely respectful, and she understands and so on. And when we visit, they try to avoid meat and so on. But in the early days, many years ago, when I was already a devotee, she would say, "Oh, come on, just a little bit, like, the God will forgive you. He's loving, he's forgiving. Some days when I would chant late, because when you're with family, they're like dragging you here and there, she would say, and she would say, I would still like eat late, finishing my rounds, and she would come and say, it's like, one day you don't have to do like all of them. You could just like, it's okay. So yeah, so that's how Maya works, and how this philosophy is that okay, just little drops, little drops, nothing is gonna happen. Yes, something huge is gonna happen. Your fire is gonna burn like this, more and more and more, and you are like, how come I cannot get rid of those desires? So what do we do? Is there any hope for us? The desires are there, so strong. Is there hope for us? Hmm. Not long ago, maybe that was actually, I remember the class of my Guru Maharaj. But I think maybe it was even here when he was here last year. He was talking about King Yayati, right? So King Yayati was cursed because he messed up. But anyhow, his youth was taken away, and he had to receive this old body. And he was like, "But how about my desires, right? I still have so many desires for sense gratification." Anyhow, so he went around and was begging his sons, "Please, please, please, let's exchange. Give me your youth, I give you my old age. How a good deal. It's such an amazing return on investment. Like, let's do this. Anyhow, so we know the story that one of the sons agreed to do it, and then King Yayati was able to enjoy to his full satisfaction. I don't know for how long, but it was not just a weekend, it was like hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, right? Just to realize that those desires, they're still there. So he came, returned his youth, and he said, this doesn't work like this. So if it didn't work for him and he tried for thousands of years, how it's gonna work for us? It's not gonna work for us. But it's easy to say, it's harder to implement it. So we need to seek shelter. And how we can put out this Bhava Maha Davagani, the forest of material desires, by a rain cloud of Guru's mercy. We cannot do it ourselves. Just like the ant, when you put a blanket over it, how this little tiny thing can get out? Not possible. Not possible. If someone comes and remove the blanket, it's freedom, right? It's so easy for someone bigger to remove it. So similarly for Krishna, it's so easy to remove this illusion. So we have to keep trying over and over again. Even if we feel so stupid, even if every day we come at evening and we pray to the Lord and we said, it again, I messed up. And we are full of regrets and feel really bad. And we feel really awkward to beg for the mercy again, to plead for the help. We should doing this because in this way we are actually paying for the ticket of Krishna to one day just remove the obstacles that we have in our life, to remove those desires and replace them with the desires of just wanted Krishna and Krishna service. This rain cloud of mercy, Guru Kripa. So we have 15 minutes. I would love to hear from you because it's such a fascinating topic. I mean, this verse, this translation, this purport by Srila Prabhupada, just like a cold bucket, putting cold bucket on our head. It's like, don't be an illusion. There's like nothing. The body is full of diseases. It's gonna come sooner or later. You might be like fit, beautiful, whatever. You're gonna get wrinkles. You're gonna get health issues. You're gonna die eventually. You may run after this happiness, this object, this shiny object. You will not find a satisfaction there. Stop doing this. The only way is Krishna's way. So I would just conclude by saying, just give some food for the thought that if you were on Titanic and it was tilting into the freezing water of an ocean, the waves were high. Again, would you be worrying about what color you're gonna paint your walls? Like what color makeup you're gonna put on your eyes today? Or would you be worrying like what curtains you're gonna put? Should I put this dress? Should I take this dress? Or would those earrings fit or no? Would you be worrying about those things? So our Titanic is sinking with every year. It's sinking, it's closer to this final destination, not destination, final exam, when we will be forced to leave the body. So what is important to focus on? Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that this verse and translation was quite also exciting for you to deliberate upon as it was for me. And I would like to open for any question, but even more for your own realization on the topic, for your own knowledge and experiences. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Just a second. Let me. Can you keep this? Can you bring this mic closer to Prabhu so he can Yeah. I want to move actually the other way around. Can you keep the mic closer?
Do I hold it or? Okay. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Very nice class and verse. Actually, the English translation to this verse is very similar to another verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Lord Shiva speaking, and it's Canto 7, the same canto. Yeah, 7:42, I think it is. Yeah, 7:42. And the Sanskrit is Sukhaya Dukkhamoksaya Sankalpa iha karminaha Sadapnoti haya dukkam anihaya sukhavritaha. And the translation is very similar. In this material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin. And then Srila Prabhupada's purport is very nice. Every conditioned soul is bound by the laws of material nature, as described in Bhagavad Gita, Prakrite Krimanani Gunaih Karmani Sarvashaha. 3:27. Everyone has achieved a certain type of body given by material nature according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridaya junati stati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. It's Bhagavad Gita 18:61. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, is present in everyone's heart, and as the living entity desires, the Lord gives him facilities with which to work according to his ambitions in different grades of bodies. The body is just like an instrument by which the living entity moves according to false desires for happiness and thus suffers the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease in different standards of life. Everyone begins his activities with some plan and ambition, but actually, from the beginning of one's plan to the end, one does not derive any happiness. On the contrary, as soon as one begins acting according to his plan, his life of distress immediately begins. Therefore, one should not be ambitious to dissipate the unhappy conditions of life, for one cannot do anything about them. Ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate, 327. Although one is acting according to false ambitions, he thinks he can improve his material conditions by his activities. The Vedas enjoin that one should not try to increase happiness or decrease distress, for this is futile. Tasyaiva hetah prayateta kovidaha. One should work for self-realization, not for economic development, which is impossible to improve. Without endeavor, one can get the amount of happiness and distress for which he is destined, and one cannot change this. Therefore, it is better to use one's time for advancement in the spiritual life of Krishna consciousness. One should not waste his valuable life as a human being. It is better to utilize this life for developing Krishna consciousness without ambitions for so-called happiness.
Thank you so much for sharing this speech. The moment we start to pursue the happiness. Wow, amazing. And even if someone figures out this whole so-called happiness, there is Kala. Krishna says, "Time, I am the destroyer of the world." So even if someone like thinks they are just perfectly figured it out, Krishna will come and will take everything away. Thank you, Prabhu, once again for sharing. Anyone else would like to share? What is online? A question? Okay.
So where do we draw that line? Hare Krishna. So my question is around where do we draw the line between bodily consciousness and shifting? We are all trying to shift towards more of a Krishna consciousness, but we can't completely get rid of body consciousness because we need to have this body to be able to serve Krishna and to guide our way back to Godhead, right? So where do we draw that line as to this is where our bodily consciousness should end? And I don't think it would end. Would it? Should it be ending or completely? Or I'm just a little confused as to when should we stop, or should we completely stop or not stop thinking about taking care of our body. Like you mentioned, it is important. Without this body, we won't be able to find our way back and serve Krishna while we've got this body. So how do we get that balance, or how do we find that line where we can actually stop at the bodily level and think about soul, yeah, or Krishna conscious level?
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful question. So balance, right? We are talking about balance. Like Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, that the real yogi is someone who keeps balance between rest and work and so on. So this is a real thing, how to find balance. Obviously, the body needs care, right? When we are younger, the body may not need as much care, and that's why it's important that when we are youthful, that we really give everything what we can for Krishna. We really sacrifice and go beyond our comfort and so on, because as we age, the body would require more care just to even conduct basic sadhana and basic and devotional service. It would require more care. But again, it depends from the consciousness that if we take care of the body, whatever it's needed so you can conduct our service. Because negligence is also the sign of ignorance. It's not Krishna consciousness. If we are very neglectful about our body, about our appearance, that is sign of ignorance. It's not sign of Krishna consciousness. Like Srila Prabhupada would always say, the devotee is perfect gentleman. Not only how he acts, how he speaks, but also how he looks. Uh, our dress, we should be, not only showered, but our dress should be nice, should be pressed, should be ironed. We should look like real gentlemen and ladies. So it's important. But why we're doing this? Because we are representing Krishna, right? And so similarly, we take our body, we try to keep it healthy, we try to stay fit. But only what is needed for execution of Krishna consciousness. If we go another extreme, and we spend hours in a gym, like hours in salon, yeah, thank you, doing the hair. Now I'm gonna, do her this way. Now I need another haircut every so often, so we keep our look fresh. That's going to another extreme, which is again sign of forgetfulness that what we do is actually we're doing this for Krishna, even taking care of our body. So I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, it depends from our consciousness. We may say, oh, I'm in a bodily concept of life. And we might be in a bodily concept of life. But taking care of the body doesn't mean that we are in a bodily concept of life. We have a perfect example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was completely transcendental, pure devotee, Krishna's representative, empowered representative. He was caring for his body. He would get massages. He would go for a walk. He wanted his clothes to be ironed, and like if it was too long, he wanted the bodies to fix it, everything. But was he in the Bali concept of life? No. So what makes a difference? What made a difference? He was doing this for Krishna's service. So he was keeping the tool, the vehicle that he got from Krishna. He was taking care because it didn't belong to him; it belonged to Krishna. So it's a question of consciousness. If the consciousness is right, we will be able to find the right balance. And of course, I'm speaking like it's easy. It's struggle. I'm struggling myself to find a balance, properly to balance everything. But the saying is that practice makes it not perfect actually, but it makes it permanent. So when we practice, it becomes a habit. So balancing those, it will become our second nature. But I would like to hear a little bit from my husband on this topic as well. We have a couple of minutes, like 3-4 minutes, maybe a little more. Would you please share a little bit?
First of all, thank you very much for a wonderful class. Indeed, it was a bucket of cold water on our fiery head, full of material desires, hankering to find happiness in this material world in a place that there's no happiness. Yes, indeed. When I'm thinking personally about this, I also think I'm stupid. I'm just a stupid guy. How is it possible to chew of the to be chewed? Doing this again and again and again, despite of knowledge that we are receiving. However, we can lament like this, but from another side, we can look from the perspective of what actually we gain. If not Krishna consciousness, if not Krishna's mercy, and not Vaishnava's blessings and their mercy, we will even not know about these things. We will be like this deer that is chasing the mirage. But because we are very fortunate in this lifetime, so we got blessings of pure Vaishnava, and therefore we have this mercy in the form of this knowledge. At least we know what is there, what should be done, and how should be done. So yes, although we are stupid, still we are very fortunate and lucky souls that we know what other conditioned souls they don't. So therefore, having this knowledge, we should create situation, facility in our life. Like Srila Prabhupada always was repeating, we should mold our life in such a way that we can succeed. What does it mean? So first of all, as you emphasized a few times, how much strength we have on the front of this powerful illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. We don't. So unless Krishna will intervene, we have no chance whatsoever. But we don't see Krishna. We don't have such a realization yet. But Krishna sent his pure devotee that we can see, that we can hear, that we can ask questions, that we can follow instructions, we can follow his footsteps, we can, with whom we associate, we become like. If we arrange our life in such a way that we can assist, we can have association of pure devotees and assist our Guru Maharaj in his mission. So then we can develop desire of devotional service. So we cannot deny desires. Desire is very powerful energy that drive us here and there to do something in this material world. Either we will chase mirage or we will mold our desire in such a way that we will chase to fulfill desire of our Guru Maharaj. So if we put ourselves in this situation, that we will mold consciously our desire to fulfill desire of our Guru Maharaj, and engage our senses, mind, and intelligence to fulfill his desire. So then our consciousness naturally will change. So our business is to mold our life in such a way that we will associate with more advanced Krishna conscious devotees. In this way, we will assume their ambition, their desires, our own desire. And through proper association, we can succeed. Otherwise, if we have only association of our own mind and senses, forget it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Wow, such a powerful conclusion for the class today. So it's 8 o'clock. So I will conclude the class today. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada.
Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna